Alright, so here are the Swat broadheads. I have one that has an extremely bent blade and one that has a slightly bent blade. And cutting it open with my Milwaukee fastback knife, this thing I carry it every day. It's so useful. I'm going to be adding it to my website back here at Broadheads. I'm going to have a Great Gear page on there. That's the second item that's going to be on the Great Gear page. First item is the squeeze bag that I like to use from Amazon. You put that in the back of your gun or crossbow, and you just squeeze it to get your elevation locked in. So that one broadhead that you can see right now, that one already has the band on it. It's ready to go. I did test these out the other day. Here is a link to that video popping up. And they all tested very well, even though I wasn't using the squeeze bag in the back. So I want to do another test on a day that's not windy at all with the squeeze bag. So I ordered these blade kits from Swat. So you're going to get enough to, I think, to change out 3 broadheads. So you have the front blades, you have the back blades, you have new screws, and you have a bunch of the mill straps, which are the rubber bands. We'll get everything dumped out here. So maybe it looks like maybe about 6 of those bands. And if you don't want to mess around with the bands, well, SWAT is coming out with a magnetic broadhead where you're just going to fold these blades up and they're just going to stay in place with the magnet. So that's awesome. I think they're going to have the same ferrule shape as this one. This is my favorite ferrule right now. They some of their previous models had a spade blade in the front, which would be the cut on contact blade, but these ones just have a point, and that point is crazy sharp. And these things are probably dead on center. Like if you spin a Montech, sometimes they're not completely on center, but like a Muzzy, I've spun those. Those are always right on center. I've never actually spun these, but I'm guessing they're going to be on center. But the thing I really like about them is that they are going to fly like your field tips. So, you know, here, you know, there's the mangled one. But, you know, there it is. That looks like a slightly bent blade, too. Maybe that's the bent one. And those are the 2 blades that are going to open before entry. Those other 2 blades that are closed right now, those are the ones that are going to open after entry. These ones here. And the reason why I'm switching to these, like, if you double lung a deer with a rage, it's toast. And it's going to bleed a lot. Hopefully you hit it low enough for the blood to drain out. But I'm switching to these for what I don't want to have happen, but it's eventually probably going to happen again, where you don't get an optimal shot. You know, you hit the deer not exactly where you wanted to. Now, these screws that I've taken out, all the ones I've taken out, they were not very tight. So when you put them back in, you know, just snug them up. You don't have to worry about like Loctite or anything. This is the smallest screwdriver we have. This is out of like just a small screwdriver set, but you know, maybe something that you would use to repair eyeglasses with. It is pretty small. And those 2 blades, as you can see, fell right out. Those back blades, they don't get messed up at all because they just fold right back into the ferrule when you go to pull this broadhead back out of the target. So as I was doing this, I figured out a way that you can test to see if your blades are bent. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this one right now, but in a second here we'll get to my little testing procedure. I ended up having 2 bent blades. Now I think I have straightened 1 or 2 of these blades in the past, but these ones I'm just replacing them instead of trying to unbend them, especially the one. I mean, it actually had a kink in it. And then you're not going to get that back out. But see, if you hold this, okay, I still haven't figured it out yet, but in a second here I will. What you're going to be doing is holding it down in the middle and pushing on the edges. So kind of holding in the middle there. Okay, there we go. Holding in the middle, pushing on the edges. Flip it over, do the same thing, and that's going to tell you whether or not your blade is bent. I'm just checking out the ferrule here. Making sure these other blades are not bent, making sure there's no foam left in there in the target, from the target. And then it's kind of nice to keep one of your blades assembled so that you know which one goes on the bottom. I don't know if it matters, but I did want to put it back together the way this one was put together. And, you know, maybe even if you get a new one, check on that, because I can't guarantee you that the one that I have assembled here, that I hadn't put it together wrong before. I'm just assuming it doesn't matter. So just getting everything organized here, cleaning some of that foam off the paper. And this is a little bit of a tricky process. If you have too much trouble with it, you know, just get somebody to help you. But the blade that's on my left, I'm putting in there first. I'm putting it on the bottom. And that would be with the screw hole facing me, because the other side does not have a hole at all. And then the other one goes on top. It's pretty easy to get that screw down into the top blade, but it's definitely harder to get it down through to the bottom blade. And you're just going to have to mess with it until you get them all lined up. If you don't have them lined up, the screw is going to hit, I believe, on the bottom blade, and it's going to get tight too early. Because ultimately, when you are done, the top of that screw is going to be down in that groove, and it's going to be flush with the bottom of that groove. So if your screw gets tight before it's down in there and flush, then you know that something's wrong. Just loosen it up, keep going backwards and trying over and over. You know, don't be using too much pressure. Tweezers, definitely a good idea to get this thing started. Using 2 people, not a bad idea. But you'll see here, this first one, like, it's down in that first blade, but there's a good chance it's not in that second blade yet. And the other thing that I'll be doing throughout the rest of this video is right here. It's a lot easier to work on these things, especially you don't ever want to try to install those bands unless you have your broadhead mounted onto an arrow. You know, just makes it easier to hold everything and keeps your fingers further away from those sharp blades. Now with this one, when I was first trying to tighten it up, it was getting tight way too early, and before the top of that head was flush with the down inside of that groove. So just something you just kind of got to mess with it till you get it. So I think, yeah, this is where I was kind of forcing it, and then later on I learned that you shouldn't have to force it. It should not get tight until it's all the way down in there, and that top of the screw head is flush with the inside lower part of the groove there. This here, I was just kind of wiggling those blades. They seemed kind of loose, but that's actually how they're supposed to be. And yeah, I think I'm just backing this out because I was pretty confident it wasn't right. Or maybe we're on to the... No, this is the same one. We're just taking that screw out. Trying again here. So the one that's on my left is on the bottom. Next blade goes on the top. I believe I don't think there is a right and left to these blades. Back to the tweezers. And most of the time it's going to be easy to get it into that top blade. The challenge is to get it into the groove on that second blade, and then just to get the screw straight. It's not, and if it gets tight too early, just back it up. You're not going to feel much of a click like you do sometimes with bolts and nuts and screws, but you know, just keep trying until it goes all the way down in there. Swat does make a practice head. I do not have enough experience with it to tell you if it's going to shoot exactly the same as these broadheads, but you know, that's something good to test out on range day. If you have experience with that, please let everybody know in the comments. You can see there I missed the bottom blade, and I probably caught that top one, so I'm going to have to loosen that up and try again. Might be a two-person job just to make it easier, but you know, I've haven't done this very many times, and I was able to get it done by myself. And so when I'm all done with this, I'm going to have a bunch of extra lower blades. I have still a whole pack, enough for 3 broadheads left over, and I still have some extra front blades. The extremely mangled blade, I threw that away. The 2 that were just bent, I just kind of threw them in my archery tray, the one compartment. Didn't throw them away, I was just hanging on to them. I probably never use them. But yeah, I think that one's done. So this one here, first step should be to put this onto an arrow, and it's a lot easier to see if those blades are bent after you take them out. That one looks bent from here, but we'll know for sure once it's down on a flat table. I was just trying to eyeball this to see if they are bent or not. Sometimes you can be pretty confident that they're straight just by looking down them, but it's not easy to tell. I would say more often than not, when you pull these out of a target, the blades do not get bent, but you know, I shot 3 the other day and I bent 2 of them. So another reason why I'm making this video is, you know, so you don't have to do this. So you can just shoot your field tips, put these on, and go. That's where I got with the rages that I've used, that I use. I don't even check them anymore because I just know they're going to match my field tips. So, you know, if I do enough testing with these, hopefully I can get to the same place. And these have the advantage of 4 blades. Now, okay, see what I mean? This is a really good view of testing to see if these are bent or not. And good chance, you know, it's not going to wiggle there, but you could physically see it wiggling the other way. And in the right light with this blade, you can see the bend in it. So that's a good way to test them out. Bent blade. And let's see, I don't know if this is my other bent one or if this is a new one. That side was okay. Just trying to unbend it a little bit there. These are pretty sturdy though. It's kind of hard to unbend them. Yeah, I think that was the other bad one. New blade here. Next step should be to put this onto the arrow. Hopefully I remember that. Doesn't look like I'm remembering yet. I think I will remember real soon here though. There we go. And these are just my dummy bolts that I use to be able to show where the broadhead would be on a Raven crossbow without having to load it. Adding some 10-point hangers, stirrups, bipods, Barnett hangers, stirrups, bipods. That's, you know, in the plans for the future back air broadheads. Also in the plans is getting some of my products manufactured for me. They will be of a higher quality and they will be anodized black instead of painted black, so they'll have a more durable finish on them. That's going to start with the heart drop quick attach. The quick attach is going to be the quick attach plus, and it's going to fit a large, like most of the standard layout Ravens, it's going to fit those, and replace the Heart Drop 5-in-1 R26 and the Heart Drop 5-in-1 because they're all very similar. And it's just going to make your decision process easier. And then just kind of streamlining more products is another thing planned for back air broadheads. Improving my packaging. I want to make that a little bit nicer. So same thing with this screw. It's going to be easy to get it into that first blade, top blade, and then a little harder to get into that bottom blade. And a lot of times it will just get tight sooner than it should, and you'll know. It needs to spin all the way down in until it, it shouldn't be getting tight until it's way down in there and the top of that screw is flush with the bottom of that groove, that slot that's in there. Can't wait to test out the magnetic Swats. Those are going to be freaking nice. And then maybe another video with shooting these more. Hopefully I still have my practice tip from Swat. Get that shot some more, see how well it matches with these and with field tips. I'm definitely going to be shooting with the squeeze bag next time. And hopefully we'll get it some nice weather before too long, as in not too cold and not windy. I was just kind of feeling if there's any resistance against that screw from the blade, and there is some, but I don't think it affects the performance, because as you can see, as soon as I push on that at all, those blades don't really slide, they're just opening up. And as you hit the deer hide, it can hit right on that sharp blade. Those the little pieces that stick out from the other blade aren't necessarily in the way when cutting into the deer. I have shot one deer with this. It did hit the deer where I was aiming, even though it was at 60 yards, which is beyond how far I shoot these days. And it did have a big enough wound channel that I could smell the deer, because I had to hit it back a little bit. I could smell the deer before I actually found the deer. So like I said before, I'm switching to these. Well, first of all, because they're freaking awesome. Just the design, the idea behind them. Just getting some foam out here. So you're getting your rear deploy, nice entry wound, and those will go all the way through the deer too. And then your two fresh blades inside. Increased chances of catching a vein or artery or organ with these, since you got blades coming out of 4 places instead of just 2. And really, you got to be careful pushing these down, because like I said, that tip is sharp and you do have those blades right there. This screwdriver is not probably the best thing. I have another video that is linked right here showing you an easier way to use a little hook type piece of metal to put these on with. This screwdriver is kind of pointy, and I don't want to cut that mill strap, but those mill straps are pretty tough, so it does work. So it's on there now. All I want to do is even it up. But anyway, like I was saying, switching to these just for the times when you don't hit that deer where you want it to, or it goes through a different angle than you expected. So you thought that deer was broadside, but it was quartered towards you a little bit. So, you get one lung, and now you're like slicing the heck out of the liver. So, that deer isn't going to go too far. So to me, these are for those shots that are not broadside double lung shots. I don't want to get any of those, but at some point in the future, it's probably going to happen again. So back to putting on another mill strap. And this point, that point is super sharp. So, don't push it on there too far with your fingers, because eventually you're going to stab yourself with that point. You do have all these blades here. If you don't want to mess with the mill straps and all this stuff, Swat is coming out with the magnetic closure system. Can't wait to test those out. Definitely be doing a video on that. So I'm just gently getting that screwdriver in there. And your first step is you have to get it around the prong on that one front blade. Then you're going to have to get it around the prong on the other front blade while holding those back blades in. And once you get it in there, you know, there are flat spots on the front blade so that you're not cutting your strap. And there's kind of flat spots and kind of marks on the back blades so you know where to put that strap. That's, you know, at least that's how I do it, and things work just fine. And as I mentioned before, on my website, backyardbroadheads.com, I'm going to be adding a great gear page. You know, so stuff stuff that I use and really like that squeeze bag I mentioned before. 90% of it's going to be hunting stuff, but I am going to put the Milwaukee fastback knife on there because I just carry it every day. It is extremely useful. It's got the flat screwdriver, it's got the Phillips screwdriver, and I'm just going to get everything organized back here. And there are at least 8 of those mill straps in there, which I think is nice. But we're just at the cleanup stage here, so I'm going to have a full quiver of these Swat broadheads ready to go. Let me get that name for you. These are Xmag STX broadheads. I'm pretty sure they are the only green ones on their website right now. And they're freaking awesome. And they're made specifically for crossbows. They're 100 grain. You probably can add the sleeve onto these. They might even come with a sleeve to make them 125 grain. Stupid little screws. Get those all put away. And I don't know, they probably give you, well, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 or 12 of those. It's kind of nice. Not going to run out of those things. Got my foam from my target there. So you know you got that all cleared out. That's kind of nice. That's my extremely bent blade. And then I think that's one of the slightly bent ones, which you could straighten out. That one. But I'm not planning on doing that. Probably grabbing my other blade. Yep, my other bent one. And as I mentioned before, figured out a way to test to see if they are bent. You're just going to hold them down on a flat surface in the middle. Push on both sides. Flip it over and do the same thing. These ones, and really, once it's out of the broadhead, you know, just kind of look at it in the light different ways. It's real easy to see. I'm sure you can see that those two are bent, and this third one there is just mangled, so that's pretty obvious. So here's our stuff. Cool green color, ready to freaking go. Ready for a thumbnail. Backyardbroadheads.com if you want to check out the stuff I make for the crossbows. See you in the next episode of Backyard Broadheads.